Hey guys, so while function is more important than how much time you spend when starting your bookkeeping and accounting business. So I was talking to a gentleman the other day who just joined our mentorship program, and he's been running his business full time for about 6 months and he hasn't got any clients yet. And he was saying that he does he works pretty much 8 hours a day on marketing and sales. And on the onboarding call, there was a couple of misconceptions they were able to kind of clear up for him, and we're going to really be off to the races pretty soon. So I want to kind of share some of those lessons, both that that we talked about yesterday, as well as the stuff that's really been important for me in my journey. Also, if you want some help growing your business, but it's just not quite growing the way that you think or that you hope or that you wanted, go ahead and click the link inside the description either above or below the video. Book a call. Let's see if we can help you. So, the main thing when it comes to running a business is all about managing your time. So whether you have all day to do your business, or you have an hour to do your business, being able to manage the time that you do have is really going to determine how much money you can make while in the business. Now, I had a student in the mentorship program. She just joined last week, and she was like, can I make 6 figures while working my job? Well, it depends. How well do you manage your time? How much time do you have? What is going to be your price per hour per client? And when I say price per hour, it doesn't mean you have to bill in an hourly kind of rate. Every flat rate is just, there's still a certain amount of time. You can measure that in hours divided by dollars, or dollars divided by how much time it takes. So let's say it's $500 per month, and it takes you, we'll say, 2 hours to do the work. Okay, so now you're making $250 per hour, right? So even though you gave them a quarter of flat rate, there's still a hour component that's attached to that. Next thing is just really are you going to be trying to do all the work yourself, or are you going to have a team do the work for you, right? Not really a right or wrong answer. It's just more of a time frame and how big do you want the business to actually grow. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's the biggest thing. So number one, time management. I'm always dividing my day into 3 parts, really 2 parts if you have automation. So number one is going to be marketing or checking my automations. We'll talk about automations in a couple minutes, but number one is marketing. So that's all about getting new opportunities or new people to know I exist, and then seeing if some of them want to work with me. The next third of my day is going to be basically devoted to sales. So if I have a consultation call, I will do a consultation call. And I just like doing that because that's when I'm usually the most relaxed. I don't like doing sales related stuff in the morning because my brain power, I think, is much better spent on tasks that take creativity, which marketing is one of those things. It takes a little bit of creativity. It takes a little bit of good mood, good, just good disposition. If you're kind of dragging or tired or annoyed, then your video is going to come out dragging, tired, and you're going to come very annoyed in those videos. So I like doing it first thing in the morning because it's just very relaxing. Then sales. Another reason why I like doing it in the middle is because if you don't have any sales consultation calls, you can just spend more time doing the client work or spend more time doing the marketing. So the sales is the part that gets the most flexible and the most likely to have nothing to do if you don't have any consultation calls on that day. Third aspect is really going to be about doing the actual client work. Now within each of these 3 aspects, if you have a team, part of that time frame and part of that time block is me talking to your team in that area. So for example, for my marketing team, I will text my marketing team during the first third of my day to kind of see what's going on, see if things have changed in the market, and just kind of see where their head is at to make sure that we're on track for our goals and hitting our targets. Same thing with sales. You'll check in with your sales reps, say, hey, how are all the leads doing? Do you need anything else? Do you need better quality leads? What's kind of going on there? When it comes to the work, you can have a team meeting with the work. You can talk to, if you have a controller, you talk to your controllers. You can do a lot of quality control as well as reviewing the work of your other subcontractors, or kind of more of your junior subcontractors. If you don't have a controller, then you're going to be doing a lot of the reviews yourself, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. Sometimes it can be a little bit aggravating when you're first getting started with a certain team member if they're doing things wrong. So it just kind of depends, but it's really about how you divide up your day is going to determine how far you're able to scale. So for example, one of our students named Maite, she was able to scale her business because when she first got started, she was having a bunch of personal calls throughout the day, and then she would try to do her work interspersedly throughout the day, and just she wasn't really getting that much stuff done. So you restructured her schedule, and not only was she able to still take those like personal calls like with her family as they kind of came in, but she's able to keep growing because now she knew what she needed to do on a daily basis, and she had a lot more free time to actually kind of like focus on other things like her family and just different things. But it came because there had to be a little bit of structure in the way that she did it in order to really maximize the rest of her day outside of it. So that's the big thing when it comes to time management. Next thing is you don't really have to have a lot of time to do this stuff, right? Because here's a misconception people have that most people don't understand. Just because you have more time to do marketing does not mean you're going to get more marketing done in that time frame. Marketing is not created equally. So just making a post on Facebook is not really going to... Okay, let me break it down. Having a conversation back and forth is worth probably 20 Facebook posts. Like having one conversation is worth 20 Facebook posts. So some people are like, well, I've been posting every single day and I'm posting consistent. It's like, yeah, but number one, you don't have enough context in your audience to even go. If you think about it, social media, for every 100 people that you have following you, generally about 5 to 15 of those 100 people are actually going to see your post. And on top of that, the people that see the post are most likely the people that have interacted with you in the past. So let's say that your people from high school are following you, like they like every one of your posts. Those are the only people that are actually going to be seeing them. So let's say you did have like a business owner in your network. They're more than likely not going to see your post because they're not really the ones that always engage in your stuff. Number two, you don't really understand, in a lot of cases, if you don't have clients, your marketing message really isn't that strong, or else you don't have clients. Like some people say, like, it's just a matter of time before I get clients. Not really. I did an experiment recently where I went onto a new marketing platform and I got a client within the first 4 days. So we're like, well, yeah, Bryce, you're an expert, and you know this, and you have your own firm. Yeah, but the point is, you can get on a new platform and get a client in under a week. It's not about the amount of time. If something is right, whether it's a decision, whether it's a process, what's procedure, the amount of time it takes to either make that decision or for it to be the right thing does not matter. If something's wrong, it doesn't matter if you think about it for 30,000 years, it's still the wrong thing for you. Right? Let's say that you buy some kind of fancy Gucci handbag or I don't know, I don't really buy super luxury stuff. Let's say it's Gucci, Ferragamo, something like that, or Hermes bag, and it's $12,000, and you have $3,000 in the bank, and you live paycheck to paycheck. Buying a $12,000 bag and having to go into debt for it, that might not be the right choice for you. But it doesn't matter if you do it in the first day you buy it, or you do it 30,000 years from now. It doesn't matter. Still, for the situation you're in, it's the wrong thing. Versus, let's say that you're gonna buy a car, or let's say you're gonna buy a computer. Okay, because let's say you're gonna run your business on this computer, and this business is gonna give you $10,000 per month for the next 10 years. Okay, so whether you buy the computer on day number 1 or you buy the computer on day 400, if it was the right decision for your business, that's the right decision. You might as well just buy it on day number 1 as fast as possible, so you can really get inside of that success as fast as possible, so you can have longer duration of success. Now, back to what we're talking about. So, you have to be thinking about efficiency. In the beginning, the only thing that matters are 3 things. So, it's talking to potential clients, it's closing consultation calls, and doing client work. Okay? So, if it's not in one of those 3 things, it's not important in the beginning. Anywhere under about $5,000 a month. 5 to 10,000 a month is kind of a weird zone, because in a lot of cases, whatever took you to about $5,000 a month, you just need to do it 2 times as much. And really the amount of time that you take. So let's even break it down. So in our program, on average, what we kind of see is it's very easy to get to about $5,000 per month with initial inputs. So it means you talk to people and you're talking to people, and then you have we'll say you have 20 consultation calls. Generally more 10 to 15. So let's say 10 calls. Okay. Out of those 10 calls, 3 to 4 are going to sign up with you right away. And then out of the remaining 6, about 3 of those people are going to come back to you within 3 months. So oftentimes, once you get to 5K, it's only 1 to 2 more months before you get more to 8K and 9K or 10K, because of all the people that change their mind, right? So the point of that is to say that, lost my train of thought. This has been happening a couple of days. I think I'm really tired for some reason. Yeah, I got a good night's sleep, but I don't know. But yeah, so the biggest thing when it comes to this is it's not just about like the amount of time that you spend. It's not really just about being there for 8 hours a day. So for example, one of the students, going back to the earlier example, he was saying that he's like doing stuff for 8 hours a day, but a lot of stuff he does is like posting, or it's like sending out emails, or it's like scraping the web on Google to go find email contact information. Well, first things first, one way to kind of like become more efficient is to use tools. So there's a lot of different automation softwares out there that can automate some of the daily tasks that you're going to be doing. So for example, let's say that you're going to go look at Google Maps. Okay, well, you would use what's called a scraping tool. Basically what a scraping tool does is it looks through Google, Bing, Yahoo, any ask.com, any kind of search engine, and it's able to go and take all the different like websites, go through those websites and find the different email addresses that are associated with that. So while most people manually are going in, like maybe they'll spend like 8 hours to go find like 20 different emails, if you use an automation tool, you can go find 300 emails in the span of like 10 minutes. So it's drastically reducing how much time you need in order to go do that. And then if you do, so imagine if like every day you're working 8 hours a day, you're getting like 20 email addresses. Imagine if you spend an hour a day and it's like every 5 minutes you can go get 200. Over the course of a year, of course, you're gonna have like just a massive difference in your stuff. But also there's another automation you can use where instead of you manually sending emails, you can have it automatically go out. So not only are you finding more email addresses, but you're sending out more email addresses. So you're in addition to being like 1,000 times more efficient at finding contact information, now you're 1,000,000 times more efficient at sending the emails out. So 1,000,000 times 1,000 is 1,000,000,000. So they're really 1,000,000,000 times better and more efficient than the other person. And that's what caused you to grow your business very, very quickly. So another thing that you can do in terms of like how much time it takes to grow the business is just become more skillful. So when I say skillful, we were doing an activity the other day where it's like you can kind of tell how much someone is going to be willing to pay you and able to pay you based on certain factors inside of their business, especially when you're using like LinkedIn. So we went through what that criteria was yesterday on the call. And what that does is you don't need to necessarily go and build as many relationships if you're building relationships with people that actually have a really good sized business. Because then you don't have to waste your time with all the bums. The part about growing the business that makes the business the hardest is not really that marketing is challenging or sales is challenging. The part that's challenged is that talking to all the people that either are not going to buy from you or people that kind of are, they think they want to buy from you, but they just don't really buy from you. That's really what wastes all of your time and causes you to be frustrated, causes you to feel like you have to go back in time, causes you to feel like you have to build a website. It's just like, it's just, I don't know, it's just, this is the bad leads that are going to really prevent most people's growth, not the good leads. Right, because whenever you get a new client, whenever they're paying you their amount, you get like an energy burst. It's whenever someone says, "Oh, your price is too high," or "Oh, I don't work with you," or "How do I know you're credible?" or "Oh, I know you have 25 years experience, but like, I don't know if you can help me," or "Oh, you don't have 1,000 years experience. How can you help me?" And it's just like all these like weird objections, which has no real bearing over your like ability to do something, right? Or it's like you send someone testimonials like, "Oh, well, those testimonials were for this particular case and this particular person, but I'm different." It's like, you're not really different, dude. You're just kind of making excuses, right? So that's really the difference. And like in terms of like being a good lead versus a bad lead, you really have to kind of like look at yourself and like how do you actually deal with like sales situations? Are you a person who like needs to think about it? Do you want to go and talk to your spouse? Do you want to like what kind of person are you being? And the fastest way to kind of change how other people react to you and your consultation calls is to literally just be a better prospect in general. The reason why is because the better you are at being a prospect, the easier it is for you to understand the mind frames and like the mentalities of someone who is going through there and has to make a change in their buying behavior. So, for example, one reason why a lot of people need to think about it is because you're not very clear in your language patterns. So, what I mean by that, if you don't use certainty language, you're going to cause people not to be certain with you. So if it's like, well, potentially I want to do this, or possibly I want to do this, or possibly I'm going to be able to help you, or I think I maybe could be able to help you, or why don't we get started this day, or maybe this day. And it's like, the more wishy-washy you are, the more the person's like, I don't really trust this person. I don't know why I don't trust this person. I just don't trust this person. I don't think this person can actually help me, right? And it's like, it's unfortunate because people don't really understand why that's happening, and they just kind of think like, but it's cause and effect. So the first thing you have to do is just stop getting so many think about objections, to be very, very clear and get good at being clear. I was talking to this one person. Okay, so I'll tell you an example. So we worked with this one accounting client, and like they just signed up. I think it was like 3 days ago. And the lady was just all over the place. Like, yeah, we have 4 companies. And like, yeah, well, this company's bigger than this company. And this company's winding down. This, it's like, okay, so cool. So my partner was like, wow, this is very confusing. It's like, okay, so let's make it less confusing. Yes, no. Yes, no. This or this. A or B. And you just zoop. That person now becomes very, very linear. But that's because I'm a very clear person whenever I'm communicating with people. I need to know complete clarity so I can really understand what I'm dealing with, right? But that's why I don't really get a lot of think about it objections. I sometimes will get like a think about it like thought like blurb that people say, but then we're able to unpack what that is, and now they have more clarity around what it is that's actually stopping them from moving forward. Right? Because even it's just like one of those things where it's like a lot of objections aren't really objections. It's just that people have a buying behavior, and you have to really kind of lead them out of their regular buying behavior into the correct buying behavior for the situation. But the only way to do that is if you know how to do that for yourself. If you're a person who like needs to think about it, well, have you ever overcame your own think about it objection? If not, then you're not gonna be able to close that deal. If you're a person who, I have to go speak to my spouse, I have to go speak to my partner, I'm not making fun of you if you do that. It's just do it beforehand. do it beforehand, right? That's the main thing. So you have to be able to understand that and be able to get a communication with the partner. So a couple different ways you can handle it. If you're in our program, we talk about how to handle spousal objections. But the first things first is start practicing how you preach. Start being the person you need to be. And if you aren't being a really good person that's buying something, you can't expect to be good at sales. Just very simple. If you don't come prepared to meetings, you're probably going to not really require other people to come very prepared for meetings, because you're not really going to be a person that understands the power of preparation. Right? I was talking to this gentleman the other day, and he was like, he asked me a million questions that he could have researched on his own before the call. It's like, did you follow the preparation steps we talked about before the call? No. Well, why not? I don't know. Okay. So go follow the preparation, then let's reschedule this call. Okay, he did it. Now he's prepared. Okay? So that's how you get someone to do what they're not doing, is by making them follow the right process, so that now they're in a better position to make a good decision for themselves. Cool. So tools for market efficiency. We talked about doing the right things versus the wrong things. Going back to our point, 3 things, right? So remember, it's talking to people or potential clients, closing consultation calls, doing the client work. Okay, what is not involved in this step? Making a website. That's not really involved in talking to people. Okay, what's another thing that's not included? Going in and getting more education before you have clients. Okay, you just get a baseline level of knowledge on bookkeeping and accounting, and then once you start getting clients, then you start learning more and more stuff. This is called just-in-time learning, not just-in-case learning. Because if you're starting a business, some people are like, well, I need to know every single thing in order to be considered an expert. Well, just don't be an expert. Why do you have to be an expert? Like I don't understand that. Why do people feel that they have to be an expert to do something? Just work with clients that are easier to work with. Or tell people that you're not an expert. Or instead of telling people you're not an expert, just don't claim to be an expert. Okay? If you just don't say it, you don't have to do it. The problem is that everyone wants to like most people are honest people, right? So we want to be able to kind of live up to our word. But if you don't give your word, you have nothing to live up to. If you don't claim to be an expert, you don't have to go and be an expert. Just if you think you can help someone out, say you can help them out. If you don't, then just don't say it, maybe get off the call. Now, if you're watching this and you're in my training program, and I talked to you yesterday on the call, and I said that there's a specific way that you know to turn something down versus turn it up, you need to ignore that advice I just gave you, because I know that you might be looking for a reason to actually like not do it, okay? Your name starts with R. So follow my instruction when we talk to on the call. This is just general information for most people who don't have a barometer to know who to take on versus who to turn down. Cool. Yeah, it's just like people make business so much harder than what it needs to be. It's a very, very simple game when you've distilled it down to all the stuff. And the reason why most people make it harder is because when you just don't know what you don't know. So that's why it's always like very interesting to me when someone's like, well, I want to try the business on my own, or I want to do this business on my own. It's like, okay, well, I mean, you could, but I mean, like, there's so many different things that you don't know that will stop you from being successful. And that's not just bookkeeping. That's not accounting. That's every business. That's why there's a 9 out of 10 failure rate inside of like businesses, because no one knows what they're doing. If you look at it, what percentage of business owners actually invest in like business coaching or mentorship? It's only 10% of the population. Okay, so what percentage of business actually failed? 9 out of 10. That means that 1 out of 10 is still there. What is out of 10? 10% of 10 is 1. So what did we say earlier? 10% of business owners invest in coaching. 10% of business owners survive. I'm not saying that it's because, correlation does not always equal causation, but they are kind of interrelated. I'll just be honest with you in that regard, okay? And it's not because like magic. It's just because information's moving so fast. So for example, there was an update on Facebook the other day that prevents you from messaging quite as many people as what you did in the past. It happened the last 3 days. The amount of people who don't know that even happened is amazing. So could you imagine if you had planned your whole strategy of growth on like LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, and then the platform changes and you don't even know it changes? How could you ever be successful like that? The only way you can do that is by knowing and like getting around people or getting in a room of people who are actively doing the things that you're doing at a much faster and higher level than you, so that you can adapt and not have to go through those same problems that someone else did. That's why most people invest like in a mentorship program. It's not because like, oh, I want to get this it's not like magic. It's a very structured way to grow your business, having a very proven process that allows you to be able to go on like really avoid all those different mistakes that most people make that cause them to fail along the way. Because failing is not really a one-time event. Failure is mostly dying by a slow death of 1,000 cuts that you don't even know are actually happening to you until you just start bleeding out. It's like you have cut, and some of them are painful, some are not painful, but you just wake up one morning and it's like, oh, you can't move because you're out of blood. That's what it's like to fail in business, especially in this type of business. So if you don't want to fail, if you want to be able to go and reach your goals, go ahead and click the link inside the description, either above or below the video, to book a call with myself to see if I can help you inside of our program, okay? I can't help everybody, so I want to see if it's a good fit. So come and join this call. Let's see if it's a good fit. Let's see if we can both work together, and let's see if it's going to be a mutually beneficial relationship, okay? If it is, I'll talk about our program. We'll talk about the pricing. We can get started. We can get off to the races, and we can get going, okay? I'll talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day.